Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Excited to have you here for the September 17th Immersed Investor webinar. We're sort of doing this as a way to update our community about the business, the market in general, some fundraising updates. Additionally, this times out very well. We do have a discounted valuation opportunity available to everyone on the call who invests that ends tonight at 11:59 p.m. PST. There's some different levels based on how much you invest. You can visit and learn more about that at invest.immersed.com. With that, let's get going. My name is Kevin Morris. I'm an advisor to the company. I'll be hosting today's session. A bit about myself. I have a firm where I help advise companies of all shapes and sizes on the fundraising and equity crowdfunding experience and process. Prior to that, I raised over $150 million for my own companies, including a CFO and a member of the board of Miso Robotics. And it's been excited to work with the Immersed team. I'm excited to present our two famous faces from Immersed. First, we have Ryan Yep, Head of Partnerships at Immersed, and of course, fearless leader, founder, and CEO, Renji Bijoy, whose birthday was yesterday, by the way, everyone. So happy belated.
Thanks, man.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Good. Yeah, thanks for joining. A lot of you have seen Immersed based off of a lot of the YouTube content you've probably seen, probably different fintech publications and a couple different places online. And so this might be newer to you and fairly interesting, especially if you have never really dabbled in the AR/VR space before. Well, at a high level, Immersed is one of the most used AR/VR apps on the planet. And what it does is it's an app you can download on like a Meta Quest headset, for example, or like the Apple Vision Pro headset. It connects your headset to your laptop. It spawns multiple virtual screens in full resolution. And so depending on the form factor or the device that you're choosing, it might be your level of comfort might be different. But that's why we're working on our own hardware called Visor, which I'll get into in a second. But kind of the main point is to allow you to take your workstation anywhere you go, whether it be your couch or your porch or hotel room, airport, anywhere. You have your entire workstation with you anywhere you go. But on top of that, remote coworkers can get into the same virtual space, quite literally sitting side by side as if you were together physically in person, as opposed to kind of doing this tiled type of thing that we're doing here, like a Zoom phone call instead. And this allows coders to code side by side with all of their computer screens. It allows designers to whiteboard together, teachers and students to be in the same virtual classroom. But before I get deeper into some of that, my background, before Immersed, I guess my last job, I was a senior architect, software architect at CNN, working on a product called GreatBigStory.com. It was sort of like a kind of like a TikTok of CNN, so to speak, but it was kind of just not super fulfilling, unfortunately. We were able to growth hack it to about 3 million daily active users within the first 2 months. So it was a great experience, but I just don't want to work on time waster apps the rest of my life. So I quit that and focused on a PhD in computer vision and machine learning from Georgia Tech. So things like self-driving cars, autonomous drones. But after about 3.5 years of writing research papers, it just got also kind of boring. And so that's when I then decided to start Immersed. And so we were finalists at both Y Combinator and Techstars, some of the world's top accelerator programs. We ended up going through Techstars in Chicago back in 2017. And I mean, you can dig deeper into my team's backgrounds. A couple of us have graduate degrees in artificial intelligence. Joe and some others have deep experience in XR or AR/VR. Josh and Ryan, yeah, you can kind of dig into their backgrounds when you get a chance. The deck is available on the website as well. But again, founded in 2017, about 30-ish employees on the software side. The hardware side varies. It fluctuates in the number of contractors we have at the time, but several of those are actually coming on board at the company. And we raised actually north of 22 million to date. But I think the more interesting part is the fact that I guess as of the past few months, we actually have had over 1.5 million unique users. I need to update these slides from July. 1.5 million unique users, many of which who spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week, every week in their headset. They actually spend more time in the Immersed app and headset than they do on their smartphone. They spend maybe 4 or 5 hours a day on their smartphone, 20, 25 hours a week. But when it comes to actually working in their headset, they spend nearly double that, right? If not more. And so it's been really cool to kind of see how we're one of the only AR/VR apps that have had over 2,000 years of user usage, though it says 1,800 years here. This again is a little bit outdated, but a data point that's also really exciting was we hit 1.4 billion views on our social media channels alone, let alone everyone else's social media channels that have been talking about Immersed. 900 million views on YouTube, 500 million views on everything else collectively. And that's just free traffic, $0 spent on ads for that. And so I think part of it is because users really love the product, right? It's something where they feel like they're able to get a lot of work done. There are alternatives like the Meta version of Immersed. I think kind of the main difference here is with Meta's first party version of the app, you have teams of project managers and different individuals who are being assigned to build a certain type of app, as opposed to our team just very driven and very, it's just a team of founders on our side, right? So we dream about this in our evenings and weekends. And so at the end of the day, the numbers themselves speak for themselves. Meta, their first party version of our app, their app is called Meta Horizon Workrooms. It has more 1-star reviews than 5-star reviews, as you see here. Whereas ours obviously has a lot more 5-star reviews. And even just the sheer volume of people who are using our app, we have about 5x of their user base. And so, excuse me, it's been really encouraging to see that we've had users all across the world who, in pretty much every country, who use our app. And so it's been really cool to kind of see just the sheer amount of people who have been impacted by, especially in a post-COVID world, have been impacted by what our app does. And it's something that helps kind of get us back a little bit to what things were more like pre-COVID. And so the main problem has been, as we've been rolling this out to our users all across the world, and also we have users in 100% of the Fortune 500. The main problem has been kind of these big, heavy, bulky headsets. Those some people have conditioned themselves or like trained their neck muscles to be able to handle 40 hours a week of 2 pounds on their head. That's just not how we believe we're going to get past the 1.5 million user mark to tens of millions or hundreds of millions of users someday. And instead, in partnership with Qualcomm and another tech giant that we'll announce in a couple of months, we have been working on this headset called Visor that's about 70% lighter in weight. It weighs about 6 ounces, which is lighter than my iPhone. It has 2 million more pixels than even the Apple Vision Pro, which is the highest resolution headset, commercial headset available on the market today, and so, or consumer headset. And so when we first announced Visor, it was something that went fairly viral in the community. Over $500,000 worth of pre-orders came in the first week. We're really excited because our target was 100,000 devices sold in the first year of Visor, but some of our partners are actually projecting that we're actually going to sell about 1 million devices in the first year. And so we're very quickly iterating, and we have some pre-approved quantities that have been shipped out to particular stakeholders. And this is something that we're really excited about because it's a device that it's very different from the other headsets that you've seen out there. That's why we're calling it more of like a visor rather than like a VR headset. Candidly, we're not super deep VR gamer types. We're mainly just using XR technologies, AR, VR for productivity. And so again, as I mentioned, the headset is 70% lighter weight, 70% less expensive. I think that's also a really important point. It's not a $4,000 headset after taxes like the Apple Vision Pro. It's closer to about $1,000 depending on the form factor or the kind of the color combination you choose. It also has sort of like a front shield for the sake of better aesthetics. So it's a lot more professional. It just looks a lot better than kind of these big alien looking devices that some of these other headsets are. And so all that to say, the type of mission and vision that we have as a company is not just a software that gets you to be more productive in these kind of heavier headsets. We also want to solve how to make the headsets thinner and sleeker so we can acquire tens or hundreds of millions of users someday. But even further than that, how do I make myself a Renji times 2? How do I make myself a lot more productive than if I were just by myself? And what I really need is sort of like an automated executive assistant, right? A person who is 24/7 on, a person who has perfect memory, a person who, I mean, it's kind of a holy grail type of assistant, but no human could do that. And so I almost want like a chat GPT that just exists in my environment. And that's what we are calling Curator. For the first time ever, now sort of these large language models have eyes. They can, because the headset themselves actually has cameras on it, you're able to kind of see, it sees everything that you see. It can hear everything that you hear. And so we've been working on this product called Curator. You could always open up the deck and click the link at the top. We kind of go through some demonstrations. Actually, you could also go to our YouTube channel. You'll see kind of like a thumbnail of a person wearing a visor with kind of like a blue haze, which shows it's Curator empowered. And so we can get deeper into some of these other details we've talked about on previous webinars. Feel free to go to our YouTube channel, look at the latest videos. You'll see some of the details. So I won't get too deep into the humanoid robotics stuff. We're actually going to have another video actually come out in the next couple of days here regarding our deeper vision for why we believe that what Immersed is working on is really important for the future. Not just sort of the types of AIs that you've seen before, but even agentic AI. As you see, a lot of these sort of different types of AIs are kind of going off and working on their own, but we're more working on an AI that empowers you, the stuff that you're working on, not something that kind of replaces you in your job, but really helps you elevate your own performance. But past that, Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, mentioned this thing called physical AI. How do you bring AI into the physical world? And so you'll see companies like Tesla or Figure, who just closed a $1 billion round. And then Tesla, obviously, who's been working on Optimus for the past several years. We see a lot of these companies working on really kind of human form factor type robots that will be in your environment, a general purpose robot that can help assist you in a lot of different ways. But what's interesting is that world and kind of the AR VR world is actually very closely linked, because the way in which you actually train those robots and how to operate is you actually wear a headset, you embody the robot, and you ultimately do these different tasks. So you'll see here on the left, Tesla employees wearing the Meta Quest Pro. They're taking a battery, moving it to this line, taking a battery, moving to this line, doing it over and over and over. hundreds of thousands of times that they then train the neural networks on these robots, and ultimately they can then start doing it autonomously. So they do a lot of different tasks like sweeping and washing dishes and all these different types of things. But the difficult part is there's not really a way for Tesla and Figure and these sort of tech giants in order to for them to get the sheer volume or scale of data that they need. Even if you look at Tesla self-driving, for example, it took Elon he projected in 2015, 2016 that they would achieve full self-driving. Little did he know it would actually take about 10 years more, because ultimately he just needed a lot more cars on the road. He needed a lot more access to the data that he just didn't have. And ultimately his customers ended up driving their cars and training the neural networks. And now the cars can drive themselves. But as far as like a first person vantage point, egocentric data is what we call it. It's something that type of data is just not readily accessible at scale, except for people who are using their headsets to do normal everyday things. So like people who are working, people who are going to the kitchen to grab a drink out of the fridge, a person who is washing dishes and watching television, like a person who is just doing normal everyday things. That's the type of user data we actually do have. And it's something that as we really kind of work on what we're now calling remote physical labor jobs, is something where we feel like actually data can scale, right? If you get half of the Earth's GDP is physical labor. And so if you allow construction workers to be able to work from home, or even a chef to be able to work from home, but also be able to embody multiple of these different humanoids simultaneously. If you have one person remote controlling 5 chef humanoid bodies at 5 Chipotles, or one person who's doing construction work in a skyscraper on 5 different floors simultaneously, the same task, it's something that you can then actually scale physical labor for a lot of these companies. And so they can also do very dangerous jobs. All that to say, as the tech giants are pouring dozens of billions of dollars into whatever this next generation of computing looks like, whether it be glasses or visors, we've been benefiting a lot, because Meta and Apple have been really sort of following suit about kind of behind a lot of the vision we've been painting for the past 5 or so years. And we're the most used app in all of AR, VR. And come to find out that all of these sort of different type of AI companies and even humanoid robotic companies, they've been coming to us asking, how do we partner together and leverage a lot of the proposed estimation data at scale for the sake of bringing almost physical AI and almost AGI, or sort of a general purpose type of AI to the world. And so, there's, yeah, so we could get into market data, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think the easiest way to think about this is we're not just focusing merely on sort of the niche VR gaming hobbyist world. We're focused on the world of everyone who uses a computer for work, and then broad for that, anyone who works, period, physical labor and knowledge worker type work. So I'll kind of pause there. Maybe Kevin, you can kind of share a little bit more about our fundraising journey and kind of history and where we're headed.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give some updates on the fundraise, sort of planned fundraise and the current one, and then we can segue to some market industry news. So again, for those of you who came in late, as you know, we do have an active fundraise, invest.immersed.com. This is a regulation CF. We thank a lot of you existing investors who have already participated in the round. We have a number of perks, some of which are expiring today. If you invest by today, you can earn up to 15% discount on the valuation cap of this round. I'll get to some specifics there. So right now we're offering a convertible note. This is something the company has traditionally offered in the last few rounds. Convertible notes will convert into stock, shares of stock, and a bit about what that conversion will look like can be found on invest.immersed.com. And so we do have the ability to earn a discount on your valuation if you invest by today. Also, if you're an existing investor, you've already invested in Immersed. If you invest again, you'll get a discount as well on that valuation. The company recently, about 2 weeks ago, filed our Form 1A with the SEC. You can go on the SEC's website and view that. There's a lot of disclosures about the company. I think positive things, things about the company if you're interested in learning more. The thing I'll note is that the Plan 1A, the Reg A, which once we're qualified by the SEC, we will plan to go live. That is at an implied valuation of $400 million. That round will be straight stock. So those of you who invest now in this round, based on how much you invest and when you invest, you'll be getting essentially a discount to the Reg A. The base price for this current regulation CF is in convertible note at a $300 million valuation. That's that is a discount to the planned $400 million valuation for the Reg A. So definitely something to keep in mind. Of course, as always, you are investing in a startup. Any investment at this level can be risky, but I will tell you now that if you get in now, you'll be at a lower price than the Reg A once it goes live. Renji right now is sharing the investment page. You can toggle the different levels. Based on how much you invest, you'll essentially earn a discount on the round, a discount in valuation. And we're also indicating how many shares you should expect to earn once we do launch the Reg A. So again, you're investing in a convertible note. Once the Reg A goes live, those notes will convert into stock. And so what Renji is sharing now is sort of an illustrative example of how many shares you could you'll aim to get once the convertible note converts into stock upon launch of the Reg A.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
So one thing a couple of things we want to go through. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say one more thing. I walked through a lot of technicalities there. Feel free to ask questions in the chat about that, or email us at invest@immersed.com, and we can walk you through some of that a bit more.
Awesome. Yeah, so a couple of things we want to kind of talk through is like kind of where is the world headed? We've gotten a lot of emails and questions of people asking, Meta's in this space, Apple's in this space, Google, Samsung. How is Immersed viewing this? And I would say a couple of things. So one thing, even though a lot of these tech giants have historically been focused on gaming, based off of a lot of what Immersed has been working on for the past several years, has been kind of shaping their decision making. It's been really cool. We've been partners with Meta and some of these other tech giants for the past several years, especially post-COVID, being one of the most used apps in all of AR, VR. And so typically when a lot of this hardware is being prototyped and developed behind the scenes at these tech giants, they actually reach out to us and we actually get developer kits, and they work with us. Even for example, like the Meta Quest Pro, we were the first developer to receive that nearly 2 years before it ever came out. So even when it comes to, for example, the Samsung headset that's announced here, we are a launch partner with Samsung. They did give us early hardware before anyone else has been able to actually see it publicly. And so you'll see that Android XR is a huge partner as well. They are, or essentially it's an operating system developed by Google. It's something that ultimately we believe that as Google and sort of the different tech giants try to develop different types of operating systems for the next generation of computing, obviously Immersed wants to be the forefront of that. But not just that, because we have the most amount of user usage and because we've kind of shown the tech giants that we kind of just need to come alongside the habits that people already have, such as working in front of a computer screen or whiteboarding, as opposed to trying to get people to play video games in VR or being a competitor to like Xbox or PlayStation, is something that we've realized is just a much better approach to getting some sort of wide scale adoption. So you'll see that Samsung, for example, they announced this kind of bulkier headset. It's kind of like an Apple Vision Pro. It's less expensive. You'll see some of the announcements before the end of the year here. You'll see kind of Samsung's pricing and their release dates and all of that. Again, Immersed is a launch partner for that headset. They actually had paid us to port the Immersed app over to that headset. And obviously, we're happy to assist Google and Samsung in kind of their endeavors as well as we work on Visor, what we believe is what the enterprise actually wants, and even just consumers want much more than like kind of the bigger kind of headsets. One thing that was also really cool is Google showed off their partnership with Warby Parker, sort of these more bifocal type glasses. They're not actually bifocals. It's glasses that similar to the Meta Ray-Bans, if you've seen those. The Meta Ray-Bans have, actually have one here. The Meta Ray-Bans have just cameras on the side. It has kind of like a microphone. You could take phone calls. You could do, I guess, just listen to music. It's something where you could, at least on the Meta side of things, you could ultimately post to Instagram, your videos, things like that. With Google, obviously, their approach is very similar. They're trying to build sort of a first-person kind of interface into the world. And the difference between Meta and Google is these Meta Ray-Bans that these are actually the Meta Oakleys, right? So these are the kind of the newer version. These don't have displays in them yet, but we'll get to that in a second. Fairly thin and sleek, right? It has little speakers in there, but the downside to this is you don't get displays in them, right? And so when you wear them, even if there were displays in this, they would be a very small field of view. Whereas Visor is it's more similar, kind of like a hybrid between this and like the bigger VR headsets, where you get the benefits of the bigger VR headsets, where you get a full field of view, but it's in a thinner, sleeker form factor. When you look at some of these other glasses, actually, you know what? Let me even just show off. You'll see tonight. Go to meta.com/connect before tonight. Zuckerberg tonight at 5 p.m. Anyways, you could watch the live stream. You'll see kind of towards the evening, Zuckerberg is going to do his keynote, where we believe he's actually going to be showing off here's the leaked video that went viral over Twitter. So these are Meta Ray-Bans they've been shipping out, but I guess kind of the cool part that they're showing for the first time, you'll see this tonight, is that it actually does have a display in them. They have kind of the bigger type of visor type glasses where you can take it snowboarding, but also this is the cool part. It has a small display in it for like text notifications or alerts, right? You could do even basic texting. And so the part that we're really excited about is the fact that this is going to show the world that I guess I'll take a step back. Even with these other Meta Ray-Bans that previously did not have a display in them, were just for music and taking videos and posting it to Instagram, or listening to music or taking phone calls, whatever. The previous version of it without the displays, they sold about 3 million of those glasses last year. This year, it seemed like they were trying to target between 5 to 7 million of those devices. But now that you can have at least a small display in them for text notifications and alerts, it's something where we're likely going to see way more adoption than we saw for last year's display list device. It's funny, whenever I log into Instagram, I'll see at least 1 in 10 people actually post videos from a first person view, playing golf or playing basketball or skateboarding or hanging out with their friends, going to the movie theater, and they're just clicking the button on their glasses. And it shows people kind of a very effortless way to post to Instagram or their social media channels. But now the difference here is now you get a display with it too. So Zuckerberg obviously is going to announce the pricing and all of that tonight. It's a huge surprise, going to be really exciting. This is essentially what you're going to be seeing there. Allegedly, again, these are not confirmed. This is just a video that was leaked on their YouTube channel accidentally a couple of days ago, and so people immediately on Twitter ripped it and posted it online. All that to say, the part that really matters here for Immersed is as people, tens of millions of people likely buy this version of the glasses, the Meta glasses or Oakley's, they're going to start asking themselves, well, what if I want to watch movies in this thing? Or what if I want to work in this thing? Well, clearly you can't use this thing because it has like a hour-long battery life or whatever it is, and it has such a small field of view, like a 20-degree field of view. Do a little bit of Googling to find out that Visor actually has over 100-degree field of view. It's something that looks professional. It's something that gives you a fully immersive experience with hand tracking and full 6 degrees of freedom tracking. Whereas these glasses don't have any type of tracking on it, period. So it's kind of just like a heads-up display that's kind of static and just kind of fixed head position type of thing. It's not 3D, it's not immersive, it doesn't really have any spatial computing in it, but at least it kind of shows people the first step that they can take very easily to benefit their lives. And this actually reminds me very similar to when COVID hit back in 2020. The month before COVID shutdowns happened, we were a company that was not really sure of where we would get the number of users we're looking for. Then COVID hit, and then we launched the MetaQuest store, and we very quickly had tens of thousands, and eventually hundreds of thousands, and then now millions of users. And we weren't really much of a different company right before, right after. It's the world changed, right? The macroeconomic conditions changed, and then likewise here, Immersed is just a very similar company to what we're going to be a very similar company to what we were a couple of months ago. And right after these types of devices get out there and really educate the market, people are going to start really. We're just going to see a huge surge of interest, traction, even more investors. So it's great that some of you have gotten in already beforehand, and so really excited for what this means for us as a company. So yeah, if you're excited to check out that tonight, Meta Connect is tonight, or Zuckerberg's keynote is tonight. Okay, cool. So we can go straight to maybe investor process. There's some parts that you wanted to discuss, it seems.
Yeah, so we've gotten several questions from you guys as investors just about what the process looks like to invest in the company. As you can kind of see from the screenshot here, there's just a few kind of number of questions that you'll just answer. Since this is regulated by the SEC, there's personal questions like net worth and your name, address, ID, etc. You can fund through a various degrees of methods. So you can do credit card, you could do ACH, you could do wire. We've actually had a number of people also choose to invest through their IRA, but that'll depend on your brokerage, whether that's supported to invest in private companies. And then after that, you can expect to receive in about 2 to 4 week time period, a countersigned executed contract by email and the investor portal, just signifying like the agreement is done.
Yeah, I'll just add to that at the conclusion of the offering, anyone who invests in this offering will be receiving a confirmation of their holdings with our transfer agent. Dealmaker is also the transfer agent. You will get a confirmation once you fund, and so that is your official record. You're signing a note and subscription agreement, but we will be following up at the conclusion of the round with an actual share issuance through our transfer agent.
Yeah, and don't forget, there's only maybe I guess less than 12 hours before the round closes, or this current discount closes. So sorry, it says 14 hours. Yeah, about 14 hours until the discount closes. So again, like once the discount deadline happens, that's the end of that. But I mean, we'll have future ones, just won't be as good as it would be if you were to get in sooner than later. So at the end of the day, like for us, we are going to continue to kind of go down this route of getting more users, followers, and just people who are interested in building kind of the next generation of computing to come alongside us and be on this mission with us. And ultimately, what that will do is kind of give us an army of retail investors at scale. So when we do go public, we have, call it 50,000 or 100,000 retail investors who are buzzing about this all over the internet, and ultimately give people a much bigger exit than if they were to just invest through index funds through the kind of public stock market or something, right? So really excited about really kind of not just a return for our investors, but even just for building a product and almost being the David to the Goliaths in this space. We've kind of just become complacent as a society that we're just going to do whatever Meta and Apple and Google say. And there haven't been very many players who, I guess OpenAI is like the only example of something recently that has started to become somewhat competitive like that. And we believe that Immersed has a lot of potential to be similar to that. You'll see tonight. That's what I was saying. Watch Meta Connect Zuckerberg's vision of things, but again, keep in mind that they are a very attention divided tech giant. And so I've watched actually previous years Meta Connects, and he said a lot of things that they ended up pivoting away from it, never even working on it. And so, but what it does is it kind of shows the signals that they're picking up on, whether it be us or other OpenAI or others. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that what we're going to be seeing here in the next couple of months, as far as not even just us, but just a lot of tech giants in the space, we see a lot of announcements this fall for what we call spatial computing and kind of the intermingling between that and AI. And that's what we believe is next generation computing. Obviously, we're super stoked about it. And if there's something you're interested in joining, we'd love to have you. So, Kevin, is there anything else you want to add? If not, we can close.
No, I think we're good. We've just responded to a couple logistical questions on the fundraise in the chat, but just shoot us a note at invest@immersed.com if we didn't get to your question, and we'll get back to you ASAP.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Cool.
Have a
Thanks,
good day.
everyone.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.